Hi, this is Corey Johnston, and today's lesson is going to be a continuation of a previous lesson from the first chapter in the book of Genesis. We made it all the way up to the 19th verse. We were inconveniently cut off by technological forces beyond our power to control, which we are at the mercy of, but we were conveniently enough cut off right after we mentioned this prayer, which takes us to the fourth day of creation. We're going to take it all the way up to the seventh, which takes us to the first three verses in the next chapter, but we just want to briefly review what we already covered. First verse, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. We witnessed the origin of four dimensions: time, energy, space, matter. And then let there be light on verse 3. That's day one. So he spoke everything into existence. The word is a creative agent. The word of Elohim is what brought all into being. Day one. Day two is the division of heaven and the ocean, which was not yet inhabited by, the earth was not yet inhabited by continents. It began as formless and void, completely enraptured in darkness, we read. But as the light separated from the darkness, so too are the heavens and the ocean similarly separated. Then on day three, the vegetative plant, the plants that yield seed after its own kind. These are living organisms with reproductive capabilities. So this is the origin of life. It began with plant life. Then in the fourth day, he gives the rise of the sun and the moon, which are not named, but they're just simply referred to as two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, that being the sun; the lesser light to rule the night, that would be moon. And we're cut off right after we mentioned this verse, so we're going to take it from the 20th verse and comment all the way up to the third verse of the next chapter. And Elohim said, "Let the waters teem with shoals of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heaven." So this actually takes us back to day 2, when the heavens, the expanse, and the waters, the sea, now he declares them to be inhabited by living creatures, that is, animal life form. This is the origin. The birds and the fish and all the other sea creatures have their origin on the fifth day. And Elohim created great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the water teemed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. So once more, every living creature that moves, so that would be in the sea, and the water teemed, the water was full, to everything according to their kind. According to their kind indicates a reproductive capability. So even though he created the original life forms of every species, they were endowed with reproductive capabilities. All subsequent life forms would owe their origin to one who was created by his own hand, be they fish, bird, or anything else. In good, we read that word a lot, so I think it's 7 times in this chapter that we read the word good, and it closes on the capstone. It was very good on the 6th day of creation. And Elohim blessed them, saying, "Bear fruit and increase, and fill the waters in the sea, and let the birds increase on the earth." So he's giving them license and mandate to replenish and repopulate the earth. It's his will that these creatures bear more according to their own kind. And we're going to take this to the annotation in the side. We didn't do that in the first, the preceding lesson, largely because we intended to make it all the way through, and we didn't think we had enough time. But now that it's been divided, Isaiah 45:18. "For thus said Yahweh, creator of the heavens, he is Elohim, former of earth and its maker. He established it. He did not create it to be empty. He formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahweh, and there is no one else." So that's an expression of his uniqueness. He is the creator, the only creator. He created the heavens and the earth. He's the former and maker of its earth. And he did not create it to be empty, but inhabited with life forms. So the God of life gave life to everything that inhabits his creation. So that was actually in the 21st verse. So we're going to take it with the 23rd, where and so there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fifth day. This is a repeated refrain. Evening and morning define day. So the sun rises in the morning, the moon, the sun sets at the day, and so that's the fifth day. Now we're moving to the sixth day. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures and beasts of the earth according to its kind. And it came to be. Therein we witness the origin of land-dwelling creatures, livestock and creeping creatures, that's insects, snakes. Snakes were actually originally had legs, but Satan assumed the form of the serpent, and as a consequence of his curse, the serpent was declared to slither on its belly for all times. Beasts, those would have been animals. Livestock are domesticated beasts, so we can infer that these are wild beasts distinct from livestock. And according to its own kind, so he wants them to multiply and fill the earth according to its own kind. That's the reproductive capabilities. So there is no evidence or inference of Darwinian transmutation of species in this. This is the creation account does not dismiss or dismantle any other version of the story or explanation of the origins of life and humanity in the earth and space, but it does declare that it came to be so. So the Creator is as good as his word, and what he says will come to pass. And we witness an immediacy of this, beginning with the light. He spoke it into existence, and just like that, light came into being. And Elohim made the beast of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. There's that word good again. So the goodness of his creation springs from the goodness of the Creator, who is intrinsically and purely and absolutely and perfectly good. So the creation was originally created good, but then it becomes marred because he creates man, whose sin throws it into a cosmic disequilibrium. We read in the 8th chapter of Romans that the entire creation groans under the weight and burden of sin. So creation leads to redemption. So at the 6th day, when he declares it all very good, he had no need to repair anything, but the process of redemption begins when man, he's not named, but we know him as Adam, sins and Eve sins over in the 3rd chapter. 26th verse, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the earth. So let us, that's the first word. We just got to adjust a little. This thing takes a little time. Let us, that's a plurality. Now Elohim in itself is a plurality. We understand it with the fullness of New Covenant revelation to be Yahweh the Father, Yahshua the Son, and the Ruach Kadesh, mentioned here as a distinct agent of creation. But so we endorse the Messiah as a co-creator of the cosmos, but man, that he's not named in here, but the Hebrew word man translates as Adam, so it would have appeared as lowercase a-D-A-M, in our image. Now, image, according to likeness, these are two synonyms we read of the likeness in Genesis 5:1, but the image has been the source of controversy, confusion, and contention, and Yahweh is an invisible, immaterial being who brought all material, the entire material world into existence, so it is not a visible entity. We do not look like him because he does not look like anything. He is invisible and immaterial, does not possess physical properties, But the most plausible hypothesis I can conceive of is spirituality. So there are, in as much as Elohim exists in Trinity, so too does man. We have bodies just like every other creature, just like plant life. Plant life has bodies and they have the ability to respond to external stimuli. And then animals, all through here, have souls, which and then spirits are uniquely endowed with humanity. So we have rational and spiritual capacities which enable us to have fellowship and a conscious awareness of our creation. And we are deigned and declared the dominant species. This was not the evolution. This was not the product of evolution. We did not struggle to be our dominant species, but it was declared and ordained by Elohim. So we are stewards of his creation, and we are charged to rule responsibly over the animal life forms, and everything in creation exists for our purpose to do as we see fit. We're going to return to Isaiah's 45th chapter, the 12th verse. I have made the earth and created man on it. My hands have stretched out the heavens, and all their host I have commanded. This is Yahweh, the Kodesh One of Israel, speaking. He's also their maker. So he made the earth and he created man. Man is the prize pinnacle of his creative process. It is his most treasured and esteemed created being. And of course, he created the heavens and the host that would have been their stars. He commanded, he spoke them into existence. And it was just like that. Read of elsewhere in Psalm 33, 6 and 9, that he spoke everything into existence. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So we actually don't meet the original male and female, and the female, we learn, is created from the rib of the male, and this has provoked the wrath and ire of modern feminists, but the woman did not come from man's foot, so he was not meant to be over her, but from his side, so they are equals. And, this verse has... with the increasingly aggressive onslaught of the LGBT agenda, there's a few things. One, it's not Adam and Steve. Two, there are only two biologically possible genders. So all that, the state of California is teaching kids as young as 5 years old that there are 15 genders, but there's only two biologically possible ones. And he created them, so we are his creation. We are not a cosmic accident. We are not a galactic explosion. We are the product of intelligent, purposeful, and loving design. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, bear fruit and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over all the birds of the heavens, and over all the creatures moving on the earth. So the responsibility of dominion and stewardship is entrusted to us, accompanied by the urge to multiply and really fill the earth. So it's his will that his earth be inhabited by life forms, chief among them men. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seeds. To you it is food. Now this indicates that the original humans were vegetarians by diets. They lived and subsisted on vegetable and vegetarian life forms, and it's not until actually Noah where we read that meat, man is declared a carnivorous creature, or an omnivorous, technically speaking. We eat both plants and animals, but here we read Yahweh actually telling him to bear fruit. He's speaking to Noah and telling him to, the same thing he told Adam, to bear fruit, multiply, increase, replenish the earth. And once more, man's dominance over the species, the dread of you is on every beast of the earth, every bird, every creeping fish, and etc. But the passage that originates our meat-based diet is, every moving creature that lives is food for you, and I have given you all as the green plants. So henceforth, now and forever, we would subsist and sustain and be nourished by meat, as well as vegetarian life sources. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is the breath of life, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. Now, the breath of life we read in the 7th verse of the next chapter. And Elohim formed the man out of the dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. So that describes in greater detail our origins, how our life became animated and originated. But the breath of life, we were breathed into existence, just like the cosmos, the light, the stars, the heavens, and the earth were spoken into existence. And it came to be so because he declared it. So these quotation marks indicate that Yahweh is speaking, and what he speaks comes to pass. And Elohim saw that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 6th day. Now, for the 7th time, we read the word good in in Hebrew numerology. The number 7 owes its origin as the number of perfection to the creative process, which took 7 days. It literally took 6, but the 7th was included as a day of rest. We'll get to that when we get to it. But very good, so everything in creation was in its pristine and pure form. Everything was good until man sinned, and through the entire universe in cosmic disequilibrium. But even before that was Lucifer's fall in the heavens. So some humankinds that have been born from Adam have had no need to be taught to sin, but Lucifer, the original sinner, came and taught Adam and Eve how to sin. And a lot of theologians reasonably posit that it occurred after the 6th day of creation when Lucifer fell. So we read of the 7th and final day, thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their array. So that word completed means there was nothing left to do. Everything in creation was a finished product. Of course, it awaits redemption. And and on the 7th day, Elohim completed his work, which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. So the 7th day, that is the weekly calendar day of Saturday, which the Jews are commanded to celebrate as their day of rest, day of worship, day of fellowship, and it wasn't given unto them until Exodus 16. So it had been preserved as a memorial of the creative process. And the word rested, that ought not be interpreted to suggest that he was tired and in need of rest. He is an indefatigable, omnipotent being. He pulls apart from Baal, of whom we read in the 27th verse of the 18th chapter of the first book of Kings. We read Elijah taunt the prophets of Baal. And it came to be at noon that Elijah taunted them and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a mighty one. He is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey, or it could be that he is asleep and has to be awoken." So because they're not responding, these prophets of Baal are jumping up and down, working up a sweat, calling for their God to bring fire to demonstrate his superiority over Yahweh, Elijah's Elohim, but it just doesn't happen because, their deity is a figment of their own imagination, whereas Elohim exists on an altogether more substantive metaphysical plane than anything else. And Elohim blessed the 7th day and made it Kodesh, or sacred, because on it he rested from all his work, which Elohim in created has made. So the 7th day henceforth and forever becomes a day of memorial and a day of rest and a day of fellowship. And I personally, the Sunday Sabbath was not implemented until the Emperor Constantine, who remained a devoted worshiper of the Persian sun deity Mithras, whose Sunday, so that's where we get our origin. I personally believe that the Jewish people have it correct, but, the Sabbath and holidays of preference neither make nor break the Christian. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Stay tuned until next time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.